Go ahead.
We can keep talking. We're just
okay,
going
Tim.
live for
You don't have to
pre-show,
stop.
Tim.
Fine.
We'll hear the rest of the story. Yeah.
But yeah, it's $45 for a steak. I think it's $25 for the burger, and the burger is stupid. It's got like
This is Wagyu for the rest of you folks just joining us.
yeah, it's Wagyu cattle. So we have the burger meal comes with like beans that I do like lots of stuff to. It's got like bacon, onions, peppers. I spice the hell out of it. We cook it until it starts getting thick, so it's not sloppy. And then it comes with that, a bag of chips, a drink, and ice cream. And that's $25. So people are just like, what the hell is this? And then the steaks are $45. And then, we've got like chicken salads, and acai bowls in the morning.
I don't feel like lots of salads happening at a biker valley event.
You'd be surprised.
No, dude, you don't know acai bowls. You know how after a long night of partying on your heavy hog, you're on your heavy hog, you're partying, then you get an acai bowl and a frappe. Yeah. It makes it all okay.
Dude, it's so funny seeing some of the people come in. It's like, what's your name? My name's Shadow. All right, I'm putting it in. What can I get you? Like an acai bowl with extra blueberries and
Now, are these blueberries non-GMO or are they local?
Like Shadow, would you like some chocolate sprinkles? Shadow likes chocolate sprinkles. All right. But no, it's just like funny. Like one of the waitresses is kind of doing social media and she's like, we just posted it out there and it's going viral. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, it's been reposted 6 times. I'm like, oh.
Viral for South Dakota.
Yeah, different.
South Dakota viral.
Different. Viral means something different. And it's usually bad in my industry. So.
It's like that meme. It's like I got into an argument with someone from Wyoming and I imagine them angrily riding their horse to a McDonald's to tweet back at me.
I don't get it. What's
angrily riding?
What's the joke?
Like not just riding a horse, angrily.
This is my horse.
What's angry? The horse, the rider, both?
Yeah,
both.
So Tim, I wanted to show you what I got here. Right, this gets me unlimited classes for life. I still have it.
Where'd you get the shepherd thing?
That's it's a long story.
Yeah, I figured.
But yeah, so there we go. So anytime, man.
It's a lot of money, man. That's unlimited classes. That's a
dude. This is like the golden ticket for Willy Wonka. So I'm pretty sure it's been revoked at this point.
Yeah.
But
do we have some news?
Oh God.
Kelly wants to get right to it.
There's some really cool things in here. There's some really cool stuff showing up this week. I'm hoping somebody can explain to me like I'm 5 the Proofpoint bypass thing. That
email's bad.
Yeah, email's bad. We'll start with that.
Give me another task, boss.
Okay, let's start with that Proofpoint article. That was really interesting.
Wait, we didn't roll the finger, Kelly.
Oh
my God.
So, Ryan, I love the animation, but we need variations of it with the finger progressively more crooked.
What are you talking about?
Variations are planned.
All right, sounds good.
You're going to see
disappointed because
now,
John
Tim.
is not going to live remote from the bike rally. No, because literally, if I was sitting outside, it would just be this, and I'd be like, "You can see here, we're at the stairs." So, yeah, no, we aren't going to live. We aren't going to live stream this from the deck.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So, but yeah,
we can hear your fan, Ralph.
I knew you were going to say that. Just waiting.
It's like a spooky. Like Ralph, I think your office might be haunted with like a ghost.
It's haunted.
Spooky noise.
It's haunted with AC bills. That's actually what it's haunted with.
The Bitcoins are backwards.
It's the death. It's haunted by the death of all the baby seals that power his house.
Hey! I've got solar now. I'm going green.
Hey! Those seals deserved it. It's okay.
All right, let's go.
I ain't saying nothing.
You ain't saying nothing.
Ready, Corey?
Wait. Let Ralph.
I mean,
get in.
John's
Oh my God,
here.
he's shouting
John's
already.
here. I can host, but John's here, so he's gonna get out his heavy hog and do a wheelie for us.
Woo!
Woo.
All right, bring out the finger.
All right,
New
here
one?
we go.
Nice.
What's the?
That's the greatest opening of the show ever. Where Tim's like, "What's the?" And he got cut off.
I think they muted my mic. Thankfully, right when that happened.
Yeah,
So.
it's an automatic feature.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Black Hills Information Security, talking about news. Or as I like to say, this is an opportunity to get John Strand out of doing the dishes. If you are listening to this, and I have this idea of Venn diagrams, if you are listening to this and you are attending the Sturgis rally, come on down to Brewberry Bistro and I will give you a free burger and a free beer. And just one per group, not one per person, because I don't think that those circles intersect all that much, but I think they do actually. So
How will they know? Is there like a code word? How
Yeah.
QR
yeah,
code?
let's
How,
just say
how
it's
they...
Sasquatch.
How will they know?
Sasquatch. And if the people looking at you are hyper confused, they're my employees. Tell them to go get John Strand, and then I will do it.
But
we
they've
have,
been for security reasons. They've been told never to respond to John Strand's name.
I am pretty sure after 4 days of working with my employees here, they're like horribly confused, right? Because I'm on calls and we're like, so, I was talking with Corey last week about the continuous red teaming that we were doing. And one of the employees just like, what the hell are you guys doing? And like, oh, we're just breaking into some companies. And you can kind of see her like look around like, what did I get into? So they're already like horrible.
Am I working for the mob? Is the thought going?
The dishwasher is talking about hacking into places with QR code. I'm not sure, but I don't think he's a dishwasher. I think he's from North Korea.
You get reported. You get reported to someone else. They're like, "Hey, that dishwasher guy doesn't seem like he's into some. He seems like he's into some bad stuff.
Into some bad stuff." So we'll see how long that goes.
Crazy
But,
person that walked in here. We don't know who he is.
yeah,
Not working.
Yeah, I'm
What a
just
great
hoping they come in
introduction.
while I'm up here, and Erica's going to come in all pissed off. She's like, "Did you give free burgers and beer to computer security people today?"
They heard. They drove 300 miles.
Yeah, it's just for today. It's just for today. If it's Tuesday, no free burger, no free beer. But you should.
Oh, I was going to
swing
save
by.
it for Wild West Ackenfest and walk
Yeah,
in.
just
Sasquatch.
then everyone's going to be coming down. It's just today, Monday, August 5th. Monday, August 5th. If you're listening to this while you're at the rally, you're like, "Hey guys, I gotta go listen to Talkin Bout news." Then you deserve a free meal.
Hey, brother, turn down that free ride. I gotta turn down that fog hat.
No, dude, it's all Kid Rock all the time.
Kid Rock,
although,
really?
although
Good to
tonight
know.
we have a Metallica tribute band right across the street, and then that's followed up by Hairball. So I'm looking forward to that. But we should probably get to the news because that's what people are here for.
Oh,
I want to, Kelly, which one did you say you wanted to jump into first? The Proofpoint one?
Yes, sir. I think
All
that
right.
one's juicy.
Yes, it is juicy.
Much like the burgers.
Much like the burgers at Brewberry Bistro
Segue.
in Sturgis, South Dakota. So Proofpoint email routing flaw exploited, sending millions of spoofed phishing emails. Now, I haven't quite figured out exactly how this works, but step one, you take over a company's, one of their accounts. Step two, you send email spoofing like Disney or somebody. We're just going to use Disney because that's in the article. It then forwards into Proofpoint. Proofpoint like echoes it off of like one of Disney's servers or one of the Disney services actually. And then it forwards it on as though it is an approved authenticated email. It's like money laundering, but for emails. And so this isn't the story, right? This isn't the story because like Kelly was saying, this is juicy, but millions and millions of emails went through this. It first started going through right about April 1st. That's when the first initial abuse, just for Disney, right? Just for Disney, because it also hit IBM, it hit Nike, Danone, maybe that's a yogurt, I don't know, Best Buy, and Editor. So it hit all of these different companies, and it looks like it went for months going through Proofpoint. And it looks like they got pretty brazen, because they had their peak abuse against Disney June 3rd, 2024.
John,
2024. Yeah,
how
go ahead.
many Disney Plus accounts do they actually need, though? I was just confused about that.
right. It's Disney doing it to themselves. Please subscribe.
Yes, this is how they got more subscribers. They had a minimum number, and they
Yeah.
actually had to hack themselves. It's wild.
I'm just looking at this, and the fact that it went this long undetected is kind of amazing. That's a lot of emails. That is a lot of spam that went through it.
It
It's
might
interesting,
be because there's so many emails that they send, right?
I think
3
that's
million
part
a
of it.
day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
3 million a day.
Wow.
And my favorite thing in the article was, geez, we were surprised that this was used for like mass email attacks or mass email like spam, and not highly targeted emails, which, for the record, right? Like, you would think that this type of attack, like if you go on the black market, this has to be worth what, $10, $15.
So, but wouldn't the customer? So the customer had to be using Proofpoint, right? So Disney was a Proofpoint subscriber,
Yeah,
right?
they
That was
were a
one of the
Proofpoint
requirements.
customer.
Yeah. Okay.
But you could compromise anybody else that's also a Proofpoint customer, like
Well,
an
you could probably
SMB.
sign
But
up
you could
yourself
also
too,
the
right?
thing that I read was you could actually impersonate Disney, basically.
That's
So
what
you didn't
you're
necessarily have to be
doing. Yeah.
targeting
Impersonate
Disney.
them.
Yeah.
So you
You
could target
are a
random
customer.
people.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, but it's like you're a customer of Proofpoint, not Disney. You can spoof emails, have it go through Proofpoint. Proofpoint validates it and is like, yeah, that's Disney, and validates it, and then it hits the inbox on the other side as though it is a valid and authenticated email from Disney,
So
And spoofed.
and spoofed.
So it's not just that it's authenticated, it's also that it says it's from Disney.
yeah.
So like
Right.
from the user's perspective, it's indistinguishable from
yeah,
real.
I
Yeah,
was going to say I saw a recent attack also using what was it, Mimecast, right?
Yeah.
So this was an actual business email compromise I saw in the wild. But what they were doing is they actually got a Mimecast account. They would send a malicious URL through Mimecast, get the rewrite, and then send that in the phishing email. So it was a real Mimecast URL in the rewrite. So when the other scanning product went to scan that thing, it would just say it was Mimecast.
And it's good to go.
Way to leak our TTPs.
God damn it, Ralphie. So,
If-
But-
yeah,
So
if
the-
you-
go ahead,
Oh,
Kelly.
I was just going to say the thing that I find juicy as you go down in the article a little further, Proofpoint, I hate to say that I see a parallel between Proofpoint and CrowdStrike here. I know BHIS, but they were allowing any M365 account to relay through them. I thought we turned off relaying back in the 1990s.
Right.
They
But
probably have a
basically,
special
just
deal.
because it's like once
we
you're
didn't.
in, you're a G. Like once you're in the Proofpoint system and those checks are clearing, they don't care where that money comes from. It's just sweet dough.
yeah. I mean,
wouldn't-
it's basically the like email spoofing is, I mean, we've blogged about it many times. And we've also like, if you've been a pen tester as long as I have, you're still like finding open relays in 2024. Like it's somehow supposed to be fixed. But I will say this is scale wise. I think it's just one of those things where each cloud service provider has their own little config and there's sausage being made and no one knows how it's being made. And then the admins are like, I'm sorry, what? We just allowed everything from Microsoft 365, guys. Why did we do that? And then there's like a ticket that's like, well, yeah, we did that because this thing broke and, no emails were getting delivered or whatever.
Well, Gangsta Bacon said, what else is flying around that we don't know about? And Gangsta Bacon, I want to say, welcome to computer security. You're going to go far.
So, okay, what was the impact of this? Like, what? Other than 3 million
Phishing.
emails a day asking for people's Disney Plus accounts, like, is there any real impact?
I think we're going to see it probably. we're going to see it in probably a couple months where you're going to come on the show and be like, all right, so info stealer logs based on this proof.
Yeah. So I think
It's gonna be like Snowflake all over again.
Yeah,
Remember how
so-
there's the Snowflake story, and then 2 months later we're talking about the latest victim of the fallout.
Yeah,
of that.
so the
This
other
will be
thing
one
too
of
is
those.
you're always like, it starts off with business email compromise, but let's go ahead and go past that, and then it gets into the hack, right?
And it
But
just goes
maybe
bigger
they
and
used
bigger.
this to start the business email compromise. Maybe this was the way they got the fish going, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, like, but we're talking about the phishing. But if you think about it, for the masses, like I think a credit card, like if I could do one thing and make as
Fraud.
much money as quickly as possible, I'm going to send stuff as like Disney Plus, and you need to update your credit card, right?
Yeah.
And just start hammering those things. Not sophisticated. Hit people at scale. Forget the spear phishing is cool, but definitely a different level of sophistication. Like something like that would just be nasty.
But that goes back to what's kind of baffling to the people that wrote the article and to me is this type of attack is so, I don't want to say advanced, but it's so wicked effective that it seems like it's kind of a little bit squandered on just spam. Like this could absolutely be a highly targeted attack against Proofpoint customers. Like if you
Maybe they were making a ton of money off this, though.
Oh, I
Maybe this
bet they
is the
were.
one that just got caught, right? I
And
mean,
least
when you see that,
resistance.
Ralph, when you see that graph kind of like doing this thing, and then finally it just, you could see where they got super greedy and they got like nailed. And it
Well,
looks
no,
like
that
they're
was when they
looking
started
right
getting.
there.
That's when they started getting burned. When they started getting burned, they increased the rates.
Yeah,
that was
but
basically.
they also noticed that they really, really focused at that point on Disney. Like it looks like they got burned everywhere else, and they were like, "Let's go for broke one last run."
I mean, I will say, based on the domains that are disclosed in this blog, I think they were mostly going like in a similar attack that Tim said, like going after
Fraud.
consumer accounts, because like they could be going after like, it could be like solarwinds.com, crowdstrike.com.
Okay,
like it could be.
bring up the graph. I want to ask you a question about this though, because this is an important point. Can we bring the graph back up? All right. So if we look at this graph, I agree with you, except for the black. It's IBM. Like okay, so Disney is the peak, but look at that black line. How many IBM customers, or do you think that's consumer? I mean, I don't think IBM
I don't
does
even know.
anything
I
for
don't even
consumer.
know what IBM actually does these days.
What do they
to be
even
honest.
make
Do they
computers?
do anything other
anymore?
than business to business?
Chat GPT, here we go.
Yeah,
what does
oh my
IBM
God.
do?
What does IBM
do
do today? What would you say you even do in this economy?
Yeah, like
I don't
does
know.
anybody under 30 know what IBM does? Or like we've got the old school laptops and IBM is the thing. A lot of them are like, what the hell's an IBM?
That's like IBM. They make computers. No,
No, they got out of that game. They
no,
sold it
no.
to China.
No, do they do
yeah.
consulting services? No, they outsource that shit to Accenture.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, John. There are some anomalies. I mean, I guess if do you think they just send a bunch of emails to old people being like, your IBM system needs to be updated?
That's it. Yeah, it's all the old IBM ThinkPad customers.
There you go.
Yeah, that
And
would be
like,
it.
God damn it, I got that email.
Which now makes me sad because the IBM ThinkPads were amazing. Like they were.
They are still good. They did buy the licensing to the whole thing. They're still good. But
yeah, like the
Anyways.
Lenovo kind of went. Yeah, IBM where software goes to die. Cisco where software goes to die. Google where software goes to die. HP where software goes to die. Computer
John,
Associates where software goes to die.
I feel a rant cooking up here, so I got to step in.
it's
I want you to save your ranting for some other stories. So as we look at this, what can we learn? As security professionals, one of the things they talk about in the article is poorly configured SPF and DKIM. So I want to point out that if you're not familiar with those, they are a subcontrol listed under the CIS controls number 9. So if you're saying, well, what am I going to do about this? I'm a Proofpoint customer, or how can I prevent this from happening? Maybe it's time to look at your own configurations. And I don't have the link quite yet, but Proofpoint actually has a user's guide on how to re-examine your your SPK and your DKIM configurations.
Okay. So Kelly, I got another thing that I kind of want to get your opinion on first. Okay, we just had the thing with CrowdStrike. Okay, we had Snowflake. We have this one with Proofpoint. I'm wondering, is there some kind of need from a governance perspective? Like we talk about DRPs, we talk about coops, but every time I look at continuity of operation plans or disaster recovery plans, it's basically a plan to deal with something that is literally, BHIS, where security professionals go to die. Yes, they don't retire ever. But it is literally, it seems to me like the DRP and the coops that organizations are putting out right now are not ready to deal with like SaaS level attacks like Proofpoint or Snowflake or CrowdStrike, which kind of is a SaaS. But you get my drift. It's like, it seems to me like there's so much of this that's like, it's Proofpoint's problem. But it really is all of our problems. And I don't even know how the hell I would approach it. Like, how would you deal with quantifying that risk, dealing with that risk, coming up with plans to mitigate that risk?
I have a couple thoughts.
Yep.
You're exactly right. I think it's incredibly hard, and I'm sure Sean has some thoughts on this as well. But a lot of people say internal self-assessments and or audits from the internal audit department are a pain in the butt, and nobody wants to do them. But if you set up a risk and audit program correctly, you can say, listen, in this particular assessment or this particular audit, we're going to focus on email security, or we're going to focus on this one critical control, or maybe you're using the NIST CSF. It's kind of like the approach we take with pen testing. Don't we tell customers, start with an external, maybe you go to an internal, but it's kind of a part of a comprehensive program. I think what we've seen is some people have treated their governance programs as a, Tom Sawyer paint everything in one color. I think we need to look at assessments and audits with very specific technology stacks.
So question for you, Kelly, because you mentioned like hardening or making sure that there are requirements for DKIM and SPF in there. So in the case of this attack, if an organization had like their DKIM and SPF checks set up correctly, would that have done anything for this attack? Or are you just saying they should just do that in general, even though it wouldn't have applied to this attack?
I heard John. Go ahead, John.
John's ready to jump.
I had to run out. But no, it would not have stopped this attack. But Kelly's point was absolutely spot on. If you're someone and you're reading those things and you don't know what those are, you need to learn what those things are.
I think
the
hard part with those
interesting
things
thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think John actually had an interesting point, and Kelly kind of touched on this a little bit as well, in that I think this is the key takeaway for me here is about integrating different parts of security as a practice, right? And so there's internal assessment and audit, and there's third-party risk management, right? And so if you look at the pattern here, if you look at the snowflakes, you look at this, you look at CrowdStrike, we're all talking about issues where you have a third-party provider, a SaaS provider, that's been either taken offline or compromised in some fashion. And so what you'll see in a lot of places, I can speak from having been in one of those places, you'll see there's a third-party risk thing, and then there's a separate thing called BCM and DR. And like the two things need to be talking to each other and integrated as a practice. Like considering third-party risk needs to consider what happens after we've signed the contract. What if they go down, or what if they get compromised? How would we handle that? Have we even thought that through? And then doing that across the board of all the stuff that you depend on, and thinking about like, what do we actually have there? Is it important? Is it secure? Like, what if it's gone?
And then here's the key to that. Therein lies the path to insanity, right? And the reason why I say that is one of the big questions that I'm getting from a lot of customers, and we've talked about it on the show here, is many organizations don't even know what their SaaS products are, right? They have no idea how many different cloud services they're using. And then you have other cloud services using other cloud services. So what I'm trying to say, folks, is AI is going to solve all of this. It's going to solve all of this, and the reason why it's going to solve all of this is it's going to enslave us in tiny little cages, and it won't be a problem anymore. I just
so you were at
thought we were going
Black Hat then, huh? You just got back from Black Hat. All right, cool. I just want to know where you got these ideas from.
Yeah. Well, dude, not going to Black Hat, not going to DEF CON. Like, just staying here. To give you an idea, staying out at Intent, it's like 112 degrees, grilling burgers and washing dishes is more appealing to me than spending more time in Vegas right now.
I'll tell everyone you said hi.
But what I'm getting at is like, there's somebody out there that's looking for a business idea. If you can come up with a business idea that hooks into the accounting records for a company, and it can tie together all of the different SaaS products, and then you can develop some type of risk matrix associated with those SaaS products. So if there is an alert something starts hitting the news and there is a hack of these, it gives people notifications and heads up. There's money there. And no, I'm not going to create that thing. So
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the SaaS stuff is so fascinating. It's the easiest shadow IT of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Like somebody pops in a
Yeah.
company card, they've got now data in 50 billion different places. No one even
they go to
I'm
the
convinced even the people who put it
administrators.
there don't even know where it is anymore, let alone the people in charge of protecting it. That is just
And
that's
they go to
terrifying.
their systems administrators, Tim, and they're like, "Hey, this app needs full admin access to everything." And the administrators are like, "Okay."
Yeah, and they're like, wait, well, to make it worse, they're like, wait, what app? What is this thing that your team is super dependent on and have been using for 4 years? We've never heard of it.
What does this do? Well, it does little cute emoji cons at the bottom of our emails where
It's the equivalent of
people
all
can
the
rate my
browser
email with a
add-ons.
smiley face.
Yeah.
The equivalent of all the browser add-ons in like 1996. You're like, well, this one makes all the web pages blue, and then this one turns the blue into red, so every web page is red.
Yeah, that's what SaaS is. SaaS is those crappy browser bar things from the 90s.
Oh,
This
my
is
talk
Bonzi
about
Buddy,
that.
and this is Clippy, and they argue with each other until my Word docs get made.
Yeah. All right, we've got to move on. I've got another one that I want to talk about that's not CrowdStrike. The Bumble Hinge allowed to pinpoint users' location down.
Now, how much did you have to pay for this feature?
for this feature?
It's extra.
That was a joke.
It
That was a
extra. It's
joke.
Premium.
It's like I
You got to be
wanted
like
to
a
be
premium
shocked.
bumbler or whatever.
That was a joke, but it is too soon, I guess.
I love the technique and the technology behind this, because what they were basically doing is using multiple accounts, and then they would find a target account that they were going after, and then they would spoof the location of the accounts to be near that particular account that they were targeting. And then they would try to identify the edge for each of these 3 accounts. If they have 3 accounts, you have 3 circles insofar as range. And then you do triangulation of where those 3 circles intersect with each other. And bam, it'll tell you within 2 meters where somebody was. Like that. Like, who was behind this? Was it the people in Uruguay that did this one?
So just texting people and saying where you at didn't work?
Yeah, just absolutely
You up?
fantastic. Just fantastic research. And
I mean, I think it's
go ahead.
it's interesting because it requires no interaction from the target, which is a little spooky. So
Oh yeah, right. I mean, it is spooky, but this is the type of security research that people should be doing on these types of apps, right?
So look to the bright side, though, John. Grinder, it needs 111 meters. 111 meters. So it's much more secure.
I didn't mention Grinder intentionally.
It's more secure, though. I just was saying it's more secure. That's a valid point.
Yeah, unless you're in Milwaukee a couple months ago, then it doesn't.
Well, no, I
matter.
think that's where the security came from. I don't know. I'm hypothesizing.
But
I mean, I think dating apps in general are privacy nightmares. And actually, like, to talk about it more from an enterprise security perspective, which is usually where we live, there's such a thing as dating fraud and dating social engineering that targets US DOD and other like places where they're actually concerned with this, right? They're concerned with threat actors being all sexy on Tinder and convincing their employees to do things they shouldn't be doing. So like that combined with being able to triangulate someone's location makes, having single people in your organization a little bit of a risk. So it's good research.
But that gets into
Single.
the area-
I would say
Go
single's
ahead,
not the married one looking for some side action is probably the bigger risk.
True. More easier to
No, seriously,
blackmail.
right? Like that's the
Easier
bigger
to
potential
blackmail.
for some sort of coercion.
No, you're right.
I didn't even think
It's
about
also where people
that.
are going to be trying to hide things, and so it's gonna be
Correct.
less out there.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the dirty underbelly, but you got to think about it when you're doing enterprise security is like, if my employees can be triangulated. I mean, this is like extreme edge cases, like this is like for, if you're being
Is it
targeted by
though?
North Korea.
I'm going with Kelly. Is it though?
Well,
Yeah, because you can just get anyone's location in 4 seconds with LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, data brokers,
Well, so,
fast people search.
I mean, I guess what they're
people's
saying is that you can
locations.
just find out where they live, though. Like, without fast.
Yeah,
people
it's
search,
pretty
fine.
trivially easy
Whatever.
to get someone's general location. And then
Yeah.
beyond that, I mean, pinpointing a specific geolocation becomes an edge case because do you need
You
to know
could
whether
turn the
John's in,
GPS on and tell me where
Well,
they are
I would
right
somewhat
now. That would be.
I would somewhat disagree with that, and I think that we're a little bit biased as middle-aged dudes. Like no one's trying to be like, my God, I can't wait to get within 2 meters of Tim. right? Like Kelly's probably got a much bigger issue with this, right? Like the ladies and stuff like this. Like for me as a dude, like, I mean, come on over.
It's like Tim. It's like Tim. It's like
North Korean
hanging
spy.
out,
We don't.
like
Yeah.
you'll hang out,
That's
like, let's say a
fair.
conference in Vegas with a bunch of middle-aged white dudes, because that's all that's in Vegas right now. And it's like
What?
you'll be at the bar and they'll be like, the bartender's into me. No, she's not, dude. Like, she's really not. No. She's really into me. Much like this lady Helga, who's really into me as well. No, just no. they're
I
not
mean,
interested in
you have a point, and I do think like, I mean, but I will say, any woman on a dating app has already seen just the horrible state
thing.
of current
Oh.
humanity. So, like, I guess
Humanity.
I'm like, if you put your real location in a dating app, you might, like, I think most women are smarter than that.
No.
it's-
It's not. That's just it. It's not putting in your real location.
Oh, but you don't have
Because-
to give it access to your location in the
Yeah,
app.
but you do, because what these apps are doing is, like, let's say it's within 1 kilometer,
Connecting
right?
you with people
And it's
nearby.
basically saying who's nearby me that I may be interested in, but it's not going to tell you exactly where I am. So these apps are set up so you can get the rough location, but they found out how they could pinpoint that location. And that's why this story is interesting. It's not that you're giving out your pinpointed location. It's like within 1 kilometer, right? It's like a taxi cab ride away. But because they could put in 3 additional users and see who's near me and put their location. So basically, you're taking the known locations of the 3 fake accounts to pinpoint the location of the actual real account. That's what's interesting about this.
Was this
I don't know. I guess it's really cool research, but my take on this is that I'd like to see an attack that actually uses this. I don't know of any previous hack that uses someone's precise location for hacking.
All right,
reasons.
I'll give you one. So years ago, we were tasked to identify all of the special forces people in a specific location at a base, right? And the reason why they were interested in that is very obvious, right? You want to know what are the people that are in special forces. You can actually then track whenever they go overseas. Are they entering your country? Then you can actually start following them. All that kind of SecOps stuff that we deal with all the time in the military, whenever people go downrange and do really, really shady shit for the State Department. So what we were able to do was the Garmin thing. So we found the Garmin thing, I think about 6 months before it was public, where you could go in and you could identify Garmin profiles. And we were able to draw a circle around a specific area and see all the people that were running 15 miles a day in that area. And we were able to identify all of those special forces people that were in that specific area, right? And then you could pick them up because they had their Garmin watch on. We could tell you when they were at a forward operating base in Afghanistan. We could actually tell you exactly where they were whenever they were doing ops. So I'm using this as an example because the exact same thing can be done with executives, of very high worth executives or high people in politics or things of that nature. So there is definitely a use case for this type of research.
Well, I think
it's
the
just
sophistication
it's
to
just
pull
an
this
edge
off is
case.
non-trivial, right? You're not going to have the typical stalker guy being able to figure out the math to pull this off. But like to John's point, right? You got a high value target going to a country with an increased chance, increased likelihood of kidnapping, right?
Dude, it's not that hard. We did the same. We have all the math. We did it in a tool called Honey Badger.
No. I'm saying you do, but I'm saying if an average person were to like, let me use this
but all
to
it
find a
takes is one
person
of those
for
average
whatever.
creepos to release a program. Like, here's
That's
a program that finds this person, and then it's game up, right?
I mean, that's fair, but I'd like to remind you that every time Taylor Swift goes anywhere, they figure out where she is no matter what, and she's not using Bumble. Like, she's not using Bumble.
I said I underestimate the level of dedication to stalking. That is a extremely valid point. Like these people get obsessed.
Yes.
I mean, just and this is just on the commercial. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's a solid freaking point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anytime Taylor Swift goes anywhere, she's not using Bumble, but she gets geolocated down to a specific spot in like 2 seconds. Like it's like it's a huge problem where like she'll just block off streets and hotels and things like that because people figure out where she is, and it's a whole problem.
Doesn't that seem like, just as a side, doesn't that seem like that life would suck? Just a little.
Yeah, having $1 billion would really suck.
So guys, what are the takeaways from this conversation? What do we want people to know?
The takeaways from this conversation is if you're in security, if there's any app that's doing anything with location, it needs to be researched. These are great spaces for university students, for people that are just practitioners. They want to get talks at Black Hat and DEF CON. We need to do this because this is a safety issue. You know, all joking aside, talking about Taylor Swift and all of that, absolutely. All it takes is one creepy ass person releasing an app that allows you to find people's precise locations. And that may not seem like that big of a deal, but here, stick with me on this. Let's say that the tool is released and all of a sudden all these people are getting geolocated and then Bumble fixes it. Let's say the worst case happened. It wasn't an academic research thing. It was an active creep person that just released a tool immediately. Bumble fixes the tool. That's great, except for the home addresses for all of these people are now directly publicly available. So,
but those already were publicly available.
No, if you're on Bumble, Bumble's not saying John Strand's at this address or whatever person.
That's true, but it is time bound. I mean, if you're at it, you know, it could be done from your house. It could be done.
Once
elsewhere.
that damage is done, Corey, it's done. Like it's like the cat's out of the bag. My point is we need to be researching these products and we need to be looking into it because this has real world impacts to people's lives outside of corporate security. That's my takeaway from this.
Well, that's an interesting point.
But
because that's a much more direct personal impact. Like most people at an organization, they get popped. Whoop de frickin' do. They live and go on. And in these kind of situations, literally they might not live or go on if something goes completely sideways. Great point.
I think it just comes down to you should assume, whether it's through this or through any other method, that someone can pinpoint your location given enough time and effort. Like someone, like Bumble is not the app it should be fixed or whatever, but there's 1,000 other ways as an OSINT expert that you can find someone's precise geolocation down to the photos they post. You can just use AIs to identify, like GeoInt is a whole crazy field of research where like based on the background of a photo that someone posts, you can tell where they are in the world, what time of day it is. I mean, do you guys remember back in the day, like Shia LaBeouf's flag? Does anyone remember this story?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, it's a famous example of like Shia LaBeouf had, they figured out from contrail. So basically the story for anyone that doesn't know is that Shia LaBeouf, back when he was relevant 10 years ago, had a stream, like a video stream of like just an American flag with a blue sky in the background. And 4chan, I believe, or some other 4chan-like entity decided to try to figure out where that flag was and go, rip it down or do whatever. And they ended up being able to figure it out purely based on what planes were flying in the background and then geolocating it down. So it's like that at that point, we all just realized my geolocation is not private. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think what Corey's just saying, just to sum it up, is that Bumble's not the only problem, right? Like there's many
air tags, there's
so many other
disaster,
things. And what John is trying to say is that there is like a huge value in this space for another way to find someone, right? And so the reason you have Bumble isn't probably the main reason why someone stalked you, right? Or was able to. So.
Yes, although I will say John is right that Bumble is an environment that puts the creepy people really close to the normal people. Like it is, and I can tell you that, like, I mean, it's been years since I've been on dating apps, but when I was on them, you really do see the just bare naked butt of humanity, and not in a good way. Like it is just people being, it is no matter, I don't care which side you're on. Like it is so sad, whatever, like you're scrolling through profiles and half the profiles are like, stop sending me dick pics. And the other profiles are like, let me send you dick pics.
All right. Let's move on. I think we got one more. I think we got one more before we get to CrowdStrike and Delta. I want to talk about some security research that I think is technically really interesting, but I want to know the use case. Eavesdropping on HDMI cables.
I read this one.
Another in a lab.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's possible. They said they get like 70% accuracy. I just wonder how big the device is. Like,
you have to be damn close to.
Yeah. No, you have to wrap it around the cable. I don't think you're like doing it outside someone's house.
If I'm that close, like, doesn't Hack 5 have something that you can just plug into an HDMI cable and it literally
just use a security camera at that point? Just watch the screen.
If
And
you
once
have to go
again-
in the house to look at the HDMI cable or the business or whatever, there's like 1,000 other things I'd rather do.
Yeah, you
I-
could just
I-
put one in line. You could just put a device in line.
Beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. It doesn't even have to be complicated. You know what would work? A Pi KVM. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be fancy.
Anything.
Like I said, Hack 5 has something for this, doesn't it? Hold on. They have something.
Yes,
that
Well,
you
there was
can
the
do.
famous Tempest stuff that they did ages ago with this.
Yeah.
Like then they could do it through a wall.
I mean, you don't need anything fancy. You can probably go on Amazon right now and search HDMI DVR, and there's 15,000 results for under
Now,
$5.99.
if you could drive by a building and able to get this signal, right? Now that would be something of like value, right? Like
All
if
right.
you could get that from afar.
So a couple of quick things. You can buy something from Hack 5. It's called a screen crab. It's $200.
Screen
and
crap.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just put it in line, and it just side channels all the screen stuff over. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
and
easy.
you could probably build it yourself for like 1/4 of the cost.
But the
for
Van
Hack
X
5.
freaking thing and the Tempest stuff was super interesting because back in the day they had Wang terminals, and the Wang terminals were straight up TTY, like real honest to God terminals with green like text, like war games. You could do Tempest Van X freaking from a Wang terminal from like I think it was something like, I want to say it was like a 1/4 mile away. You could still pick up the signals from that terminal and you could recreate what was on the screen. Luckily, we don't have things that cause as much cancer anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is that good for your health, right?
Dude, I worry about that a lot because I spent a lot of time in front of those. They were triad control data systems, but those types of terminals for a long time in the 80s. It's going to be bad later on. I can see that coming.
for like DoD.
Let's take a turn out of cyber stalking and into something else.
How about
Yes,
NFL?
please.
How about NFL to roll out facial authentication? Oh shit, no.
That's cyber stalking again, John.
Oh, we're back to cyber.
So it's just voluntary.
Really?
Cyber
How
stalking.
about how about Microsoft says massive Azure outage was caused
Yes.
by a DDoS attack?
Yes, come on, tell me how
go
all
there.
of your servers couldn't handle it.
What the hell? I remember years ago I was talking to a bunch of engineers from Google, and we were teaching a section on DDoS, Tim. And I just asked one of the guys at break, I was like, how do you guys handle DDoS attacks? And they're like, well, we don't know. And they went back and they started talking and they had some conversations and they came back to me and they said, we just have a lot of bandwidth. And I said, how much bandwidth do you have? And they said, all of it. And I figure that that's a really solid DDoS mitigation strategy. Microsoft has a tremendous amount of bandwidth. What the hell hit them to knock them off?
No kidding.
Christmas tree packet, dude. They weren't ready.
Yeah, they went old school.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
it was the F.
It's also interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say it was the FTC banning net neutrality again. That's what knocked them off.
That's what knocked them off. That's what knocked them
We'll
off.
get to that. We'll get to that.
Wow, that
I was going to say the thing that struck me as interesting was in I think it's the 4th paragraph of the article. Microsoft's official statement says, initial investigations suggest that an error in the implementation of our defense amplified the impact of an attack rather than eliminating it.
I just hope it's.
So I wonder how
smart.
much of a part that played, or whether it was more just they got hit with
Well,
something nasty.
I just want it to be a Smurf attack, just so that's relevant again. It would be so cool.
No, I think
I
we should write up a finding for them and recommend they sign up for Azure DDoS protection from Microsoft.
Oh my god!
You know that their biggest DDoSes are the ones that cause themselves, right? They've had outages all the time. Like Teams isn't even working today. Like you send an image, it's broken. So
No,
but
that's
you
a
gotta realize
DDoS.
it's
It's been wonderful.
DDoS is the go-to blame. If anything
Yeah.
breaks, just say it was a DDoS. Who's going to prove you wrong?
Yeah,
I'm
we
not.
coded our own DDoS. We're DDoSing ourselves to prove that we can't be DDoS.
We can recover.
Oh, sorry, guys. I left a ping 8.8.8.8 running on the main data center. Sorry about that.
Or, well, a packet came in that was from one of our addresses and to one of our addresses, and it brought us down. It's like, you guys didn't get that shit fixed. So,
See, I was wondering for these things, how do you write the defenses, right? You're like, let's talk
don't.
theoretically what might happen. And then it's under fire and you're like, oh, well, that didn't work right.
none of that worked.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how do you
You can
test it? How do you
simulate-
stress test
No,
this without
That's the
literally-
real challenge.
You
So
guys-
I actually know this. You can absolutely. There's multiple legal botnets. One of them is just through AWS. They have like AWS load testing, but yeah, you can. There's legal botnets you can buy and
yeah, but
have
big enough to
DDoS you.
take down Microsoft size.
No.
Yeah,
No way.
for sure.
That's a different.
No,
class.
100%. There's this company called Bright Data that I've worked with based out of Israel, and they have botnets of like 155 million IPs or something, and you can absolutely like that's enough to take down Microsoft.
I'm
100%.
hoping they have some denialists. It's like, whoa.
Well, you
Not
have to
those
pay
bad.
them per gig.
Backup
You
bot.
pay. I mean, you pay. It's a software. It's as a service. But I mean, yeah.
So if Microsoft gets mad, it's like, look, I paid. It was legit.
Yeah,
One
it
of our
was legit.
customers hired us to do DDoS tech, and they're an Office 365 tenant. So
I think
No,
what-
yeah. I mean, it's a real thing. Like when you sign up for AWS, like back in the day when you used to have to submit forms to pen test AWS, they would ask you like, are you going to do load testing and what's going to be your maximum throughput? And you could put like, the range was like, 1 terabyte per second or whatever. You know what I mean?
that
Like,
went
you
that
could-
high?
Yeah, you could put
Oh yeah,
like,
terabyte a second is nothing nowadays.
yeah, you could say, I'm going to do load testing of my website and I'm going to send in, 16 billion whatever packet requests per second. And we're going to make sure like load testing is a real thing. But I don't know.
Yeah. So, all right, it's time.
Oh,
God damn it.
it is
This would be third. This would be the
Are you going to
third
serve
week.
as a burger?
Yes.
Yeah, come on down.
Take the edge off with the burger.
I got to be honest. I would love nothing more than to go out to the cafe and it's just filled with like. Well, I guess they would be. They're all wearing black anyway, but a bunch of just hacker shirts. That would be great.
Smells the
All
same.
right, so there's a number of things going on, right? One, CrowdStrike is getting sued by Delta.
I
Two,
knew that was gonna
CrowdStrike is
happen.
getting sued by their investors as well. Let's start with the easy one. Let's start with Delta because this is turning into a weird finger pointing thing where CrowdStrike, of course, effed up. Delta took a lot longer to recover. And Delta is basically saying that CrowdStrike is saying they're not liable because they offered help to Delta and like their CEO called Delta CEO and basically Delta just ghosted them. So
John,
this
can I
is
clarify
interesting.
that just
Go
a
ahead.
little?
Go ahead.
They are saying they are responsible contractually for single digit millions, not
Single-digit millions, because that's what their contract says. Yes, absolutely. That's true. That's true. But what they're saying is they're not responsible for the additional like outage that happened above and beyond what most companies encountered because they refused help from CrowdStrike.
Did you guys see what CrowdStrike did back? They're actually saying, "Hey, cool. I mean, not cool, but you need to give us a list of all your previous outages, how you handled them." So they're firing back, and if
hardcore,
which
fire.
is I'm like, from the lawyer perspective, is kind of fun, but I can't wait to see it. Honestly, if it gets public record.
It's gonna get nasty, and it sucks because I don't know whose side I'm on this, right? Like
Yeah.
I can understand Delta, like what happened is the CEO at Delta got pissed, right? CrowdStrike's trying to call to make things better, and the CEO of Delta's like, "F those guys, I ain't talking to them. We're going straight to lawsuit time." Like they're all pissy because they're executives and they have MBAs.
Well, I think. You might have skipped. You might have skipped a step there because I think what actually happened is we can't recover quickly or easily, and that's kind of our fault, and that's making me even more mad as the CISO.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I do think like we had clients that were affected by this. Most of them messaged me the next day and said, "I stayed up all night. Can you guys go light on the pen testing for a few days?"
Yeah.
But they were back and up and running in a day or 2 days max, with maybe some edge cases. I think Delta failed to recover for whatever reason. Maybe they had devices they couldn't get to. I don't know. Are there somehow Windows computers on planes? If so, I'm never flying again.
They use it for all their billboard
was
systems.
there.
They use it for all of their ticketing systems. They use it for so much inside of their organization.
Stuff
Like,
they
yeah,
couldn't get to they couldn't get to for remediation, and that's kind of on them. I think to some degree,
you got to go
We're making
physically
an
to those
assumption.
machines.
We're making an
Every
assumption.
single one, though.
Let's if I give you a scenario, they use laps, right? They use laps to randomize all of their administrator passwords. And then that's on a system, the lap system that has all the escrow of all the different passwords for all the local administrator accounts. That system also is running CrowdStrike and it's effed. And the administrator to be able to log into their account is effed. Like you can see how if somebody drunk the CrowdStrike Kool-Aid all the way through, that it would take a really, really, really long time to recover, right?
Not really. No, because you get the BitLocker encryption key and you boot it and you just delete the
when
file.
your BitLocker key is a Windows system running CrowdStrike, how do you get the key?
Yes, dude, it's gone.
You
You get the key from the cloud. They require you to back up BitLocker keys in the cloud.
If you enrolled all your devices into Intune, then the BitLocker key would be on there. But if not,
no
then...
one is. I mean, how is
not,
anyone rolling out at scale with BitLocker keys managed manually? That if they did that, then they
weren't managed manually. They're saying another system that was managed in them is now locked.
Kelly just put out a point. Yep. This is what Delta had to say. What did Delta say? She just
40,000 servers had to be manually updated to recover the BitLocker key and boot them into recovery mode. 40,000.
Oh my god!
And there's
why do they have so many? Okay, seriously, why do they have so many servers?
It's
like in an airport, you have to go from terminal to terminal, go from those computer to computer. It's not like an office building. Which
they don't own
big.
Those computers, do they?
You got to go
all
over the freaking weird place to get this stuff
think about
done.
all those display screens that we saw in the news, right? Those were all computers physically located somewhere. Someone had to walk up to probably and plug into one into those things.
But no one. That doesn't mean Kelly can't get on a flight because there's no ad for.
Here's the other thing too.
It did though.
It did. They use those systems to book pilots, and when they can't book pilots, they time out. And
yes, but not the displays in the airport. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's just like a casual damage, right? Like blue screens of death as you're walking through an airplane that you can't get on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get what people are saying. I think it's a good discussion. I'm not saying like I don't even know. We're all speculating. I mean, I guess I would say like I do think there's no way that somehow every company that was affected had 40,000 servers that needed to be updated manually. Like the outcome just wasn't that to the world. It was outsized. The impact was not the same for every company. And the reason is because some companies had disaster recovery planning better than Delta.
The impact was impactful though. And it's not just because, all right, so let's just say, all right, let's look step back, right? And just say that you could recover in less than 24 hours, right? The long lasting effects of that could be hundreds of millions of dollars in lost revenue. I went into Starbucks that day. They couldn't even do orders, dude. They couldn't even do orders. Now, did they get it back the next day? Sure. But they probably lost out on all kinds of money. You know how many Starbucks there are? I mean, that's just one example, right?
I get what you're saying.
Just because you can recover very fast doesn't mean that it didn't cost you a lot of money. The airlines really got hit though, because what happens is when those planes don't fly, those people get pushed, right?
It's a ripple effect.
This whole system into like, yes, it's like a waterfall effect.
So does anyone know how fast they recovered? Then did we have that metric? Does anyone know?
I don't think we do.
No,
because that would be an interesting thing.
Not without a lawyer and an NDA.
Yeah, it was multiple days of Delta. I mean, the first day, of course, was really bad. I think there was significant impacts the next day. I think we had at least 3 significant
I don't mean what I mean is here. Okay, so here's the interesting data points. Data point number 1: how long until CrowdStrike, all the computers that are running CrowdStrike have been patched or remediated? Like those computers are now functioning Windows devices. Not to say that they're booking pilots, but they're now can boot. And then the next vector will be how long to full recovery of like, not only are the Windows systems booting, but we're also getting pilots booked and we're also getting data flowing and we're also getting that I think is an interesting thing because just because it's booting, it doesn't mean that it's booking pilots or flying or, doing maintenance or whatever.
So I guess the big question though is, and obviously this is for the courts to decide, right? But I'm just asking for opinions is CrowdStrike to blame for this, right? Like, and to what point should they bear onus to this, right?
I mean, I think that's for the courts.
It kind of goes to the conversation in the chat around. It depends on what they have in contracts with their customers. I mean, because typically you've got a limitation on liability clause in any contract, but there's always a carve out in there that says unless party is proven to be in violation of, and then it typically lists a bunch of other sections of the contract. Sure. So depending on how that's worded, companies like Delta may or may not have a lot of standing to go after CrowdStrike, but it's going to be very expensive for them to sort out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, those exclusions are. I mean, the big exclusion is gross negligence, right? And you could, I think, very easily argue there was gross negligence, which then all the liability goes out the window. And I mean, let's get into the money piece too. Like it's a $500 million lawsuit, and that's just Delta. Tim, that's just freaking Delta. Like does CrowdStrike survive when everybody else jumps on top?
I'm pushing back against the gross negligence thing. You absolutely have gross negligence, but remember, gross negligence means that there was willful malicious intent. And I think that gross negligence would be really hard to push.
Yeah,
it's hard to prove.
No,
in
it's
court.
not. It doesn't require willful. It's without the basic care. Like it's not as simple as regular
That's negligence.
No. Right. There's gross and there's a different bar. Negligence means I did something to state that, right? But the gross negligence means that you should have obviously been aware of this. We're all playing in this together. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it is very much a thing for the courts to decide, but I definitely see.
Here we go.
That
Gross negligence is heightened degree of negligence represents an extreme departure from the ordinary standard of care, falling between intent to wrongfully harm and ordinary negligence.
So the big thing in my mind.
Wait. Hold on. The last one's most important.
You had to drink halfway through the
I deal with lawyers on this all the time. Gross negligence is defined as willful, wanton, and reckless conduct affecting the life and property of another.
Yeah, but the reckless, it could. That's what I'm arguing here. Is it cross? It's definitely. I don't know. I definitely can see they could argue this sucker.
Yeah,
I think they can. I also think the limitation
it can be argued, but it's going to be hard to make it stick.
We've got to watch this, right? The reason why we've got to watch this is it is entirely possible that the judge sits down no, there's no Strand coming. The judge sits down and throws that section of the contract out. This is one of those things that I hate about about lawyers and contracts and contract negotiations. Is everybody is under this idea that a contract is just this magical thing that it's just going to hold up in court. Bullshit. A judge absolutely can look at any clause and decide that clause is no longer in effect. And there we go. So
I was just going to say, so it is a lawsuit, right? This is all about money, right? This is about recovering money.
It's
civil.
civil.
Yeah, this is civil. It doesn't, no one's going to jail, right? They usually never don't anyways. But
and
my
reputation.
My point is that, right, if they lost a ton of money, they have a lot invested in trying to get that back. So I mean, there's all kinds of lawsuits or civil things that happen, like where Samsung suing Apple, they're just spending billions of dollars just going after each other, and whatever happened, nothing, right? But I'm just saying that this is gonna happen, right?
So here's a pro tip. In the meantime, while you're waiting for everything to happen, in the next 6 years, this will probably be resolved. Maybe come up with a business disaster recovery plan that allows all your
good point.
You got a plan for your systems to blue screen, people. How have you been using Windows and it's not blue screening already? I don't understand. You have to plan that in. You have to just assume. Think about let's take CrowdStrike out of the equation. There's other vendors. They're in the kernel. Sure. They're not the only ones in the kernel. And also, let's talk about things like Change or Optum Health or whatever, where it's this healthcare provider is down. Or what was the one with the auto receipts where people were we talked about it on this show, where the car parts, dealer parts warehousing or whatever got ransomware. And they're writing down receipts and paper and stuff. It's you have to assume your vendors can be nuked. You have to assume that, and you need to build that into your continuity planning. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Let's move off of Delta because this next one is really, really interesting. And this is one where I'm kind of going to side with CrowdStrike.
Who else is going to enter the ring?
Yeah, the investors are suing CrowdStrike because of their statement. What was the actual? Hold on.
We need the link, man.
Yeah, no, it's bleeping computer. CrowdStrike sued by investors over massive data IT outages.
So Delta lost money.
Here we go.
Lost money. Everyone lost money.
So here's the class action lawsuit. Because of their positions and access to material non-public information, the individual defendants knew or recklessly disregarded that adverse facts specified herein had not been disclosed to and were being concealed from the investing public, that the positive representations were being made were false and misleading. What they're basically saying is CrowdStrike said that they were doing basic due diligence through the software development lifecycle process. And the investors are saying that was clearly a lie. Sure. It says, here it goes, according to the plaintiffs, the faulty Falcon update proved that contrary to CrowdStrike's assurances around diligence, its procedures, and the efficacy and the reliability of the Falcon platform, updates were inadequately tested and controlled, and the risks of outages was high. This scares me too. But
I like this a lot. I think from a concept perspective, there's no way it goes forward from an investor perspective. I I guess maybe it
I see these
hinges
as
on the
identical cases because they're both hinging on the recklessness, which is the gross negligence threshold. They're both keen on the exact same thing, different reasons to get their money. I see they both win or they both lose. I mean,
well,
simplify.
I do think there's an element with this one of like, the whole like SolarWinds situation.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
case it's like basically, which that situation is, can executives at a company be held liable for things they said that were contrary to real conditions? If that goes forward and people can be held liable for that, then I think there is a case here. Maybe. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know. But basically, if they said we have top-notch secure development lifecycle policies, and then turns out that an intern can publish a code update that breaks everything, like, you know what I mean? It's if you can demonstrate that and the other case goes forward, I think you have a case here. But
this is one of those reasons why people are like, so when do we buy at the bottom for CrowdStrike? You don't. I don't think CrowdStrike comes back from this. I just don't.
They're calling you right now, John.
Yeah, their lawyer is calling you right now. They want to
it's CrowdStrike.
Sorry, CrowdStrike. We're good.
So let's put
I think they come back.
It is a real possibility.
And there's a couple of reasons why. One, these lawsuits are scary. But two, if you're a CISO, especially in healthcare, and it impact, like, seriously, they've lost the healthcare sector. Oh, yeah. There is no CISO. If a CISO called me up and they're like, we're thinking CrowdStrike, I'd be like, no. And the reason
John,
why,
Microsoft.
Well, I think Microsoft is a little bit easier explanation about what's going on, but CrowdStrike, absolutely, hell no. Not because you think they're bad or anything, because if anything like this comes back again and you're the CISO and you made the decision to go with CrowdStrike, it's your ass. You're done at this point. That's why I think for a lot of these segments, one, there's not, well, maybe we can get a good discount on them now. But a lot of these different market verticals, I'm just looking specifically at healthcare, United States government, anything that's critical.
Well, if you put EDR on like a freaking MRI machine, are you smart or dumb?
I mean, what if it gets ransomware and you're like,
Kelly,
with the same spot? You're an idiot.
There are a ton of compliance regulations and auditors that would disagree very adamantly with each other on whether or not you should do that.
Absolutely. So let me ask you guys this question: as an IT practitioner who moved into security, how does this make you feel? Do you think do you feel less people are going to be doing automatic updates? Is our work going to be more scrutinized? What would you tell some young buck or buckaroo coming into the industry and they read this story?
I would say ask all of your vendors what their update rollout process is. And there's people that have talked about this on Twitter ad nauseum. Like, the fact that this thing hit this many systems this fast is stupid. This update should have rolled out to CrowdStrike employees first. Then it should have gone to like very small companies in Mongolia. Then it should have gone to, like, just slowly roll this thing out over a period of time where you're continuing to grow out until you get to like your large, potentially dangerous corporate customers. But seriously, you need to start asking your vendors, what is your rollout process?
I'm with you. I see this as short term though. Like, I see like everyone's gonna pull back and slow roll it, but then everyone's going to start creeping back up because they want to catch that malware faster. And you're going to start giving it 2 years. We catch bad stuff sooner than the other guys, and everyone's going to creep back right to where we are, and it'll happen again.
Yeah, that's Wade. Wade, who's here in spirit, said nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's my take: as if I was a CISO, which thank God I'm not, right? I'd be like, okay, first of all, if there's one company who's not going to mess this up again, who is it going to be?
It's going to be CrowdStrike. It's going to be
like, CrowdStrike. They literally can't.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, okay? So I'm guessing there's a little bit of scrutiny going into the SDLC process at CrowdStrike right now. Just a wee bit. The other thing is, I do think genuinely you can't avoid being in the kernel if you're a Windows EDR. And so any other tool can have the same problem, whether it's expected, unexpected, due diligence, no due diligence, etc. You have to take that risk if you're going to have kernel level logging. And so from my perspective, it's like, it's kind of like the devil you know versus the devil you don't. I mean, $10 Uber Eats gift cards notwithstanding, I think there's no other company on the planet that's giving more updates, more scrutiny to their updates than CrowdStrike.
No, I agree. And that's why, but I still come back to, if you're a hospital, and I can't remember, we're getting initial reports that people did die because of this. I don't know if any of that crap was confirmed. It would be great, but there's no way you're going to touch it. Like, you're absolutely right on all the technical merit side of it. The politics and the optics of trying to sell that to a board of directors is way scary.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I guess time will tell. So subscribe to the news and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And with
not.
that, everybody, thank you so much for listening. It's time for me to go back and wallow in the fact that I have no infosec professionals in Sturgis, South Dakota. Ryan, bring out the finger.
So